Welcome to Shop Talk. It's a presentation of InKitchen.com and Impressions, who put on this show and have a magazine. Got sponsors, Los Angeles Apparel and Alpha Broder, SPSI, Lane 7, Stalls and Transfer Express. I got with me here John Herrera, known as Johnny Bomb.
Yes, how's it going?
Angry Samoans fan, and screen printer down in Beeville, Texas, but covers a lot of territory, specializing in barbecue joints. And we're going to talk a little bit about approaches to customer service that are a little different and finding your niche. So how about first a little history of how you got into this?
So as I was saying earlier, back in 1999, my parents bought some screen printing equipment from Graphic Solutions. Equipment showed up on Friday. They set it up on Saturday. They showed us how to print on Sunday, and then they rode off into the sunset. We had to figure out everything from there, you know.
Trial by fire.
It was extreme trial by fire, very, very much so, you know. So we kept at it, and we just kept going with what we were doing and hitting it hard. And now here we are still. I don't know if when Graphic Solutions showed up to drop off that equipment in this tiny little town, that they would expect that we would still be here. When I run into those guys, they're like, I can't believe you guys are still doing this. Like, it's crazy, you know?
So how are you still here? I mean, we talked a little before the session here. I think you have a little bit of a different approach about how you choose your customers and your relationship with those customers. You know, that seems like maybe how you got where you are. So want to talk a little bit about your philosophy of dealing with customers?
Yeah, so I'd say probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I started to get burned out a little bit. You know, I get emails or something with whatever design from whatever customer, and I'm just like, oh man, like, this doesn't excite me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not thrilled about this. So I really started to think about like what I like to do, what I'm passionate about, my hobbies and stuff like that. And I quickly knew that, like, I love to barbecue. Like, barbecuing is one of my favorite things to do, right? So I had spoke with somebody, the classic, I've got this idea for a clothing company, or not even a clothing company. Like, I got this idea for this company, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be big, right? We get those all the time, right? We get them all the time. And this one came to fruition. Like, it happened. Like, it blew up. She is now verified on social media, so she's got the check mark. Hundreds of thousands of followers. She is the spokesperson for Lone Star Beer. She is the spokesperson for Kingsford Charcoal. She is a spokesperson for H-E-B as well, which is the biggest grocery store. And she is also co-hosting her own TV show on Hulu as well.
And this all came through Beeville.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. But basically what I've done is I've gone after the whole barbecue market. And I do that because I get fired up and I get passionate, like when I get a new barbecue customer or something like that. So I pretty much have become known as the go-to guy to get your merchandise done, right? Everybody knows, like, at least a good majority of people know in the industry, like in the barbecue industry, that like, hey, like, that's the guy who he does Snow's Barbecue, and he does Burnt Bean Company, and he does Hardcore Carnivore. And, we just recently got a big contract with Texas Monthly, the magazine.
Right.
So now we're doing their barbecue stuff as well, and their first order was for 500 hats. So, like, they asked for a quote, and they, like, 5 minutes later, they were like, okay, cool. Like, when can you have them done? So it was pretty awesome for them to just be like, we've been getting our stuff done elsewhere, but we want all of our Texas Monthly barbecue stuff done, like, with you. You know what I mean? It makes sense. So
and you have partners that are like in the same space, right? That are in that area. How does that work?
I do, yeah. So I pretty much met this guy who has a company called Brisket Country. And what he is and what he does is he designs specifically for barbecue customers. And so we were able to tag team off of each other. If I got a new barbecue or barbecue related customer, I'd be like, hey, go to this guy. He's gonna knock out the awesome design work. And when he's done, he'll send me all the design assets and I will show you exactly what products to put it on, how to utilize it, and how many you're gonna need. So, because that's one of my main things that I like to do with my customers is I don't just sell to them, or they don't just send me a design and they're like, print this on a black t-shirt. You know, I like to talk to them and let them know like, hey, we're gonna put, I know your budget says that you couldn't afford to go on a premium shirt and you gotta go on a basic t-shirt. But look, you're gonna have a bunch of people at your restaurant. They're gonna see the shirt, they're gonna touch it, they're gonna feel it. You want to make sure.
You're gonna get grease on it.
Yeah. Hopefully, if it's nice and moist, yes, there should be plenty of grease. But you want to make sure that your customer is selling a premium product, so that way whoever's buying the product, they're gonna wear it. You know what I mean? Because merchandise, when your customers buy merchandise that they're gonna sell, it's an investment, and they have to see some type of return on investment. And yes, the classic return on investment is dollar amount, right? But I don't just look at it like that. The investment is the marketing. You want that person who's buying the shirt to wear the shirt. You want them to wear the hat, because what
you get no value in their drawer, right?
Yeah, it does nothing for them if it's folded up or hung up in their closet. So you really want to make sure, and then they're not going to turn around and reorder those shirts because they're not going to be selling them. So you really want to do something that's going to make your customer reorder.
Eat enough barbecue, you're going to get bigger and bigger, and you're going to need a new shirt. You want it to come back, right?
Yeah, exactly. See, and that's the thing too, is like, since I know my market so well, since I'm so involved in the barbecue community, and since I know that community so well, I'm able to tell them like, hey, this is what your demographic typically likes to wear. This is what your demographic typically likes to see, you know? So a lot of my shirt orders, believe it or not, like, it's very rare that we produce any smalls. If we do small size shirts, we'll do maybe 3. You know, if we do mediums, it'll be maybe 6. You know, so I tell them like, you got to go, you know, barbecue is typically a male, you know, a male-driven industry. You know, a lot of men like to go to these barbecue places. So we're bigger dudes, you know, I'm a large.
Double X.
And you know what? You're a double X. In the barbecue business, we call that barbecue large.
Small.
We call that barbecue large. So you're good. You're good.
So you're pretty persuasive, like it sounds like you convince them that they should go higher end. You convince them to do different items.
Yeah, and it's not, and I don't convince them to go into a more premium product, because we don't really make that much more off of whether we're selling a G500 or a 3600 from Next Level. Like, we're not making that much more, right? We're just trying to make sure that our customer understands why they should spend just a little bit more on that investment into their merchandise. Like, they need to understand why it's okay to spend a little bit more, and that they're going to get it back. Because if you're just printing on anything, you know, the person who's wearing it, like, they're just going to fold it up and they're going to put it in their closet and be done with it. So you want them to wear it, tag them on Instagram, and do all that other kinds of good stuff. So
it seems like what drives this niche is, one is you get excited, right? It's hard to sell. I'm a salesperson for my company. If you're not excited about it, it's hard to sell it. So one is that motivates you. Another is that you must have knowledge of the things that barbecue companies want, like your Johnny Bomb hat here, trucker hats, patches. So you must have some knowledge that applies to many of your customers, right?
The trucker hat with the patch on it is a very hot commodity right now. Very hot. And especially the unstructured rope hats, like the Richardson Umpquas, like, those are just like phenomenal right now. I
bet 10 years ago you could not have sold a hat like that, right? It was like an old man hat, right?
No, and it's funny because There's another hat that I buy, and they call it the Gramps. They call it the Gramps. It's pretty funny.
And my people.
But yeah, so
a message maybe is not necessarily you're successful, so the idea is not, oh, I could be successful, I'll do barbecue too.
right.
Want to talk a little bit about what advice you would give somebody else, maybe maybe not in Texas competing with you, but out there, about finding a niche and what that means.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I got to a point where I was just like starting to get a little burned out. So I get people who call me all the time and they're like, we see that you do a lot of barbecue stuff, like, how did you do that? So my advice is like, if you're an outdoorsman, if you're into fishing, or if you're into like classic cars, or we talked about it earlier, like anime or something, or comic books, like how can you find a way into that market and become known as the person who is like the go-to for getting that stuff done? Because once you get in a few, they're gonna talk to each other. Like the communities talk to each other. And that's really been helpful for me, is like a lot of my barbecue customers, like they're all talking to each other because we're all at the same events all the time. And when I show up at a festival, because I'm providing them with the official merchandise, well, before I go to these festivals to drop off the merchandise, I'm reaching out to my customers that are also going to be there. And I'm like, hey, you need merch because they sold 10,000 tickets for this festival. And they're like, oh, you're right. Like, I need 72 shirts and I need a case of hats. So now I'm not shipping anything to the festivals. Now what I do is I drive, and I'll drive like 8-10 hours with the trailer loaded down of official merchandise for the festival, right? I'm spending my money. I'm not even charging the festival gas to do that or nothing. But where I'm making my money is I've reached out to my customers that are going to be there, told them, I'll be at the event. What do you need? I'll print it and I'll bring it with me, and I show up and I'm doing like a huge merch drop at like 10, 12 different people that are there, and then the other people around that aren't getting the merch drop, they're like, this dude's printer just like came to the festival and dropped off the shirts and hats and like is setting it up for him. Like, what's going on right now? Like,
plus they sold all their stuff. They have plenty of room to bring the shirts back, right?
Yeah,
They sold all that. They sold all those pork chops and brisket,
whatever.
they
Right?
sold
everything, So, and sometimes they order too much, and they're like, "How am I supposed to get all this merch back?" I'm like, I don't know, but that sell more food.
Sell more food.
But I think that's my point, man. It's like if you're able to get into a market, like you can do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like you can go to a festival and then pick up other customers. Sorry, somebody told me they were going to do something, and he did it. He fulfilled his promise.
So, I've heard you say that you consult with your customers as much as sell to them, right? You talked about it a little bit more. You want to talk a little bit more about that, like your approach of maybe almost like interviewing them, right, and see what they're doing before you try to sell them something, right?
Yeah, I definitely do. Like I do definitely consider it like an interview process with my customers. First of all, when I approach a new customer, and this kind of goes along to your niche and what you're interested in, but I rarely have to like pitch to somebody on why they should use me, because I'm usually starting with like, oh, hey, like I love to cook food. Like, what's your tips? What's your tricks and stuff like that? Like, what temperature do you cook to? And that kind of gets the conversation going and a relationship built with them. And then when I feel comfortable enough, whether it's 10 minutes later, a month later, 6 months later, whatever, I built a relationship with them that now that I can be like, hey, well, like, this is like, I've seen your product and I've seen what you're getting. This is what I could do for you, and I've developed a relationship.
So you do a little research.
Oh, yeah. I definitely do a lot of homework, and I try to develop a relationship before I'm just like, let me do your T-shirts, like, what, like nobody likes that. But when you're truly trying to build a relationship and be friends with the company, like it really works out. And for me, that's easy because I do want to know this information, and I'm not just there to just be like, I'm going to ask them a couple of questions, and then I'm going to be like, oh, hey, do you need some shirts? You know, but I do generally want to know the knowledge. So
so what if their barbecue's bad? Do you kick them out as a customer?
All of my customers have good barbecue. But yeah, so I do a lot of consulting with them because, like I said, it does them no good, and it does me no good. Like, it does our shop no good if our customers aren't selling their merchandise. You know, yes, they can order. It costs more money to get a new customer than it does to retain the same one and get repeat orders. You know, because you're not having to do all that work that you've had to do before, and now you're just like, we know the job, we're setting it back up, we're doing it again, we've taken proper production notes, and now we're just kind of pumping it out. You know what I mean? So it really helps whenever you make sure that the product that you're giving your customer is something that you know is going to sell, you know, and it's not just going to be dead inventory and sitting on their shelves, you know?
So I'm asking this, really, I don't know the answer. So I know you use social media, Facebook, Instagram. Seems like it's more like a reinforcement of what you do than actually how you get the customers. Like, you seem more personal about it, but that does reinforce it. If they look you up later, they're going to see what you're about. But do you find people that way, or do you feel more it's just enhances what you do in person?
So I know, like, everybody says, like, social media is a big thing and you got to have a ton of followers and stuff like that. I'll let you know right now, I have like 900 something followers. That's it. Like, I don't even have over 1,000, and I'm fine with that. And I have, but not even having like a huge social media presence, you know, has not stopped me from getting customers like Texas Monthly, Snow's Barbecue, which is the biggest barbecue, probably one of the most famous barbecue joint in the country right now. And then there's another one in Seguin, you know, and these people are doing, you wouldn't think it.
It's like a business card almost, though, you know.
It is.
I didn't originally know you, and I was like, all right, I'll check out the Instagram, and there it is.
It is. You know. And the amount of people that go to my Instagram and they're like, well, do you do anything besides barbecue? I'm like, yeah, I do other stuff too. You got a construction company? Yes. I love money. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not limited to just barbecue. You know, my kids, you know, I got a wife and 3 kids. You know, everybody's got to get fed. You know, we're a family-run business, so we do school stuff. You know, that's another big part of our business is schools and sports. You know, but I really, like, my thing is going after barbecue, so that way I stay interested in what I'm doing and I don't get burned out, because you will eventually get to a point where you're just like, man, like, I'm tired. Like, how are you going to charge yourself up again? How are you going to get fired back up again? And that's how I was able to. You know, I was really able to when I started to realize that, like, oh, man, like, this is going to work. Like, people are going to come to me because I've involved myself so deeply in that market, in that niche specifically. So I think it's very important that if you can.
I mean, it sounds like you are so entrenched that if you went to a barbecue place and someone had gone to another printer, they're like, oh no, I did something bad to my brother or sister, right? It seems like you're really entrenched in the barbecue scene. I am, so your customers wouldn't leave you. It would take some terrible thing to.
Yeah, and I think it would.
Very loyal customers.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty loyal, and if we mess up something for some reason, like I'm honest with them, like, hey, like, we blew this. Like, human error, like, it's going to happen, you know what I mean? Like, that's just the nature of the beast. Like, there is not one single print shop in this entire world that has not made a mistake. There's not one print shop in this entire world that hasn't probably made a mistake in the last 30 days.
There's screen printers that make mistakes, and there's liars. That's it.
That's very true. That's very true.
And there are liars.
There's plenty of them, you know.
I mean, only if you're not doing anything do you make no mistakes. That's really it.
Right. But yeah, so
we actually talked about that yesterday in another talk. That and it sounds like you feel the same. If you work through an error or a problem, and you get to the other side, those are your most loyal customers because they know what will happen when things don't go right, because it's never always going to go right, right?
Oh yeah. I am so honest with my customers. I think sometimes, like, I might No, I was gonna say maybe sometimes I'm too honest, but I don't think I am. Like, I'm just like, I have no problem letting them know, like, this isn't gonna work or but you gotta approach it correctly. You can't just be like, oh, that's not right, you know? I definitely try to be as honest as I can, and people really respond to that. They really do. Like, if you let them know how and why you messed something up and how you're gonna fix it in the future, or if you miss a deadline, why you missed the deadline and how you're gonna fix it in the future. Another big thing that I do is, like, I don't price match, and I'm very, like, from the start, I let my customer know, especially if they're like, just so you know, I'm getting quotes. Great, like, you should probably go get quotes. That's awesome. You're doing what you should be doing for your business. Just like if we were gonna get a new press, I would go to different people and get quotes as well. But I'm very honest with them to
look at the whole equation, right?
Oh yeah,
there's price and there's price.
Exactly. Make sure you're comparing apples to apples. But I'm very honest with them, and I let them know right off the bat that I do charge more. I am more, and if you're looking for somebody cheaper, I can point you in that direction. But just know that behind that person is somebody cheaper, and behind that person is somebody cheaper. You're always going to find somebody cheaper. Right, but
somebody's going to give you food poisoning.
I think. Oops, my water. I think one of the big things that I always tell the customer and why I'm more expensive is the fact that they're not just paying for a screen printed shirt or an embroidered hat. What they're paying for is my expertise in the field, in the consulting work, and knowing that I'm going to put them in a good product. You know what I mean? Like, that is what they are truly paying for. So if I'm $1 more...
So they're not stuck with those 400 small shirts they ordered, right?
Exactly. Because somebody else would talk them in and be like, you're not getting any smalls, you need smalls. I'm like, no, you don't. You probably don't need smalls, you know, or you should. You know, you need at least 6. I always try to get people to get at least 6. So, but that's what I tell my customers that they're paying for. You know, they are paying for my expertise, for my consulting. And I think after, let's see, I started in 99, it's 2022, so what's that, like 23 years? Like, I know I'm young, I'm only 36, but started when I was 13 with my parents. So I think after 23 years, I can say that, you know, I feel like I'm professionally doing this now, and I'm keeping up with all the latest trends on the market and doing things like that, like selling really hot products that I know people want to buy. Like, that's the thing.
Luckily you picked a niche that people eat it and they eat it again.
Exactly.
They don't buy one fishing rod and they're done.
Anytime you go to a barbecue place or whatever restaurant and it's so good, or you're there for a certain reason, you want to leave with that memorabilia, right? If you're in an anime and that's your thing, you go to a con, you want to buy something to show that you were like, I was there, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, if you're able to find your niche, that can be like a good chunk of your business, because that's probably every day at our shop, and we're a small shop, we are producing some type of shirt or hat for some barbecue customer, right? Finding our niche has also helped us stay busy. Texas Monthly releases their Texas Monthly Top 50 Barbecue Joints. They do that every 4 years. They do that in November. November is typically a dead time. People aren't busy in November, December, January, right? Because you got to save money for Christmas. Christmas comes, you've blown all your money. Now you're trying to recoup all that money, so we're still slow in January, right? We've been there. We have been there over all these years, and we're like, what are we going to do in December and January? We're going to clean presses. We're going to organize screens. We're going to service the embroidery machines, this and that. Well, that list comes out in November, right? We were so busy when that list came out. There's 50 joints that they list. We had 18 on that list. And when that list comes out, the people flock to these places. You have to show up at like 3 or 4 in the morning and get in line. If you want to eat, you have to show up at about 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning and get in line, so that way when they open at 11, you're guaranteed food.
Damn.
Crazy,
That's
right?
a good niche.
Is that how
Maniacs.
is that how barbecue is up there?
No.
No. They get in line for other stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what, maybe. Not that. All right, maybe we'll take a couple questions.
I have a question. My question, you talked about the size runs, and I found that really interesting. No smalls, no mediums. What's your typical range of sizes that people are buying?
So our typical range is usually about large to 2X. Those are like, we really stock our customers up on those sizes. Large, extra large, and 2X. We usually go as high as 6X for some, but like smalls and mediums are very light. We follow a size scale. So 1, 2, 4, 4, 8, 8, 4, 2. Just kind of just depend, like, and we multiply that by how many ever they want, because a lot of times they're like, I don't know how many I should order. I'm like, don't worry, I got you. I have a scale that I follow. You tell me how many you want. I'm going to multiply that, so that way we can get you up to your quantity. You
mentioned the real big size. I kind of find in more customers, I don't know if you are, it's like a respect thing. Like, we got a shirt for everybody, right? Just because you're big. Yeah, you deserve to get a shirt if you want one. So when we do Farm Aid, we do up to 3X, 4X sometimes. So I don't know, you find that true in your market as well?
Yes, I think even if you just do one, like just have the one, you know what I mean? Or two, you know, because there's going to be that person who's going to feel left out, you know what I mean? So, but yeah.
I know Sanmar, a lot of their stuff goes up to the big sizes now.
Yeah, and
I think they realize that, you know, that
there's a place
people
over
wanted
here,
the whole thing.
There's a place over here that I saw, a new shirt company that goes up to 6X, like standard, and they only charge like an extra like quarter or something. It was crazy. I was like, wow, how are you able to do that?
It's got to be more than 25 cents of fabric in a 6X.
They say after extra large, it's a quarter or something like that for every 2X. I mean, for every X. So I was kind of wowed.
Do we have other questions?
I think the last thing that I kind of want to let people know, because I don't know if most people are in the cities or if you're in a small town or like a suburb or something like that, but we talked about it earlier. I'm from Beeville, and a lot of people don't know where Beeville is, right? It's a very, very small town of about 12,000 people located between Corpus and San Antonio. It's ranch and farm country, okay? I know that one of the big rules in business is location, 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 right? That's what we're driven, location, location, location. We are in the middle of nowhere, and we have not let...
You got UPS, right?
We got UPS, but they don't deliver on Saturdays. We do not do Saturdays deliveries in our area. It hurts sometimes.
And you got the internet.
We got the internet. They got the internet probably about 2003. But...
You have people that work with you that are not there, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, our location hasn't hindered us one bit. You know, I get customers when Texas Monthly, like, came calling. They were like, and where are you guys at? I was like, in Beeville. She's like, hold on, let me pull up my maps. It's like, how are you doing all this stuff?
The good map, not just any map.
Yeah. She's like, how are you doing all this stuff for places in Dallas and Austin? Because my market is a lot in Austin and Dallas, right? And we're a small shop, 8 employees, 4 of us all being family. Yeah, 4 of us are all family.
So if you expand, you got to have more kids.
I wanted more kids, but my wife said no. But we're not letting that stop us one bit, you know what I mean? And I do get a lot of the times where people are like, and you're where? And how are you doing that? And I'm like, well, because we know what we're doing, and like, I like to talk with my customers and consult my customers. One thing that I'm super proud of this one, guys. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, right? We play tomorrow. Go Boys.
I'm sorry.
We're winning the Super Bowl this year. Did you get the report? Anyway, so I got a call, and it was like, I answer my phone anytime my phone rings, right? I don't care who it is. I don't want to miss an opportunity. This guy called me, and he's like, hey, I saw your Instagram, really good stuff. He's a designer, right? And he's like, I've always wanted to work with you. He's a designer in Austin, wanting to work with this guy in little old Beeville. He's like, I really like your Instagram. I really like your work. Like, all your products you put out are like, they're all good products. You know what I mean? They're all expensive products. He's like, I got this customer. I showed him your Instagram. He loved it. He said the quote was approved before he even got it. Like, he didn't even need to know anything. He just saw your Instagram, and remember, my Instagram's not that great. I just take pictures of hats and shirts all day, and I don't.
You're being modest. It looks good.
I don't post anything else. That's it. Shirts and hats. But he saw my Instagram, and he was like, that guy's going to do my stuff. He's in Dallas. His business is in Austin. But he's like, that guy's going to do my stuff. And my first order is going to be for 500 hats, patch hats. He didn't even see the quote. He told that guy, he told that artist just to get it rolling, do whatever you got to do to get it going. That customer was Troy Aikman. Okay, so we're going to be doing stuff for 8 Brewing, which is his new beer, down in our little bitty town of 12,000 people, all because, you know, like, he saw what we were doing. I mean, he can get anybody to do his stuff. You know what I mean? In Austin and Dallas, like, the market is saturated with good printers and good shops and stuff like that. But, like, he just saw, like, my Instagram and was like, this guy does all this stuff for all these cool barbecue places that I like to eat at. Like, I want him to do my stuff. And, like, I haven't said anything on social media yet, so this is kind of the first time, you know, I guess I'm letting the public know. But, like, when I got that call, I was like, my heart was beating, and I was like, oh my God, like, you're serious, right? Like Troy Aikman, like the Troy Aikman. And he was like, yes, dude, like, it is real. And so I said,
Troye or something. It's the real man, right?
The real man, the real deal, man. So he got the quotes, he approved it. We've been talking in email, you know. We haven't talked on the phone. I haven't talked directly with Troy on the phone, but we have been kind of corresponding via email and stuff like that. And we're going to get to deliver the first batch of hats straight to his house. So he's invited us over to go and deliver them straight to him.
That is very cool. All right, I think maybe we'll end on this note. I really want to thank you.
That was going to be my closing note, so that was perfect.
All right. How about a hand for John Herrera?
Thank you, guys. Thank y'all.
And I want to thank our sponsors, Alpha Broder, Los Angeles Apparel, and Impressions. And we got a talk at 2 that wasn't advertised with the head of R&D of Amazon Decoration.
I would come
so you
to
might
that
want
one.
to check that out.
That's going to be a good one.